I got the Scorpion DC out, and if you've never heard a DC reel cast before, this is what it sounds like. Okay, so I got the inside setting on the Scorpion DC to the braid setting, and the external dial on 1, which will give me the least amount of braking. $155.3. $142.2. $164. $152.2. $145.1. Alright, so I got the Curado 200i. I got the 2 internal brake shoes on and the external dial set to 1, and I might adjust it between 1 and 2. And of course, the 1/4 ounce casting plug. $137.2. $136.10. 138 inches. $148 inches. $143.11. Okay, so I just got back from the casting field, testing out the new Shimano Scorpion DC against the Curado. Now, to be honest, I thought the Curado I would win because of the previous reports of the previous Scorpion DC being way over braked. But as you can see, the Scorpion comfortably outcasted the Curado by an average of 13 to 14 feet, I believe. So a couple of reasons for that, I think, is one, the brakes. Once again, the DC brakes only cut in whenever it senses an overrun. So it allows the spool RPMs to get up much higher, therefore giving you longer casting distance in theory. Now, the second thing that I think contributed to the win was the spools. Now, if you remember, I weighed the spools, and the Scorpion DC spool weighed almost 1.5 grams more than the Curado spool. No, but what happens when you fill them up with line? Because this has been modified to make it a 100 line capacity, while this is a 200 line capacity. So let's turn the scale on. Now the Curado full of a 10-pound monofilament, you're looking at a spool weight of 29.54 grams, so almost 30 grams. So let me reset that. Now, once you stick the Scorpion DC spool on, filled with 10-pound monofilament, you're looking at only 25.5 grams. So it went from being 1.5 grams heavier to ultimately being almost 5 grams lighter when spooled with line, which is what matters, because that's ultimately the rotational mass. So another thing that I did notice was that the Scorpion was a lot more controlled. The overruns were definitely more controlled, and the brakes really kicked in and solved overruns. Now, if you saw the intro to the video, you saw the brakes in action, and if you kind of missed that, rewind and go back and check that out. The spool started to overrun and the brakes kicked in, and it sorted itself out in the end. So but one thing I do have to give to the Shimano and the SVS Infinity brakes is that they are more adjustable, they are more fine-tunable. Once you have your mode set inside and choose your line weight or braking force, with the Scorpion you really only can adjust the spool tension. Now with the Curado, you can adjust the spool tension and you can adjust the external dial for even more fine-tuning. So in that respect, the Curado is better. Now a couple of things I did notice were quality control improvements, I should say. Now the Scorpion and the Curado are both made in Malaysia. Shimano has a Malaysian facility that makes their lower end reels. DAIWA has a facility also in Thailand, I believe, that makes their lower end reels. I believe the Curado was one of the first reels made in the Malaysian facility, and I could see a couple of quality control things that you wouldn't see in a reel made in Japan. The first thing I saw was that the sticker, usually you can't tell it's a sticker because they put a clear coat over it that covers the edges. Now with this, I don't know if you can tell, hope the light can catch that. You can see the edges of the sticker. You can just make that out. It's no big deal, but I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to details. And also the handle is much more refined and solid and smoother on the Scorpion. It's got no in and out play. The bearings have one knob in each, and it's just super silky, glassy, smooth turning the handle, and you can really tell when you are reeling a high resistance lure in. It's just more refined overall. Now another thing is somehow this spool got through Shimano Malaysia's quality control. You can see they didn't fully anodize that. That doesn't affect performance at all. It just looks ugly. So the question being is, why would I get this Scorpion DC over a Curado when this is, you know, around $250? Well, right now you can find the Curados on clearance for around $130. Now, of course, the question is, the answer is you don't really need a Scorpion DC. You don't need DC brakes to cast far. Now, the one thing is the cool factor. Now, if you're part of a bass club or do tournament fishing regularly, you probably see tons of these. Everyone and their moms probably got one, or they've got a TATULA, or they've got a REVO or a LEWS. You know, just cookie cutter type of reels that very popular, everyone's got. Now, how many guys do you think are going to show up to the tournament with one of these? How many of their reels are going to make that cool sound? So that alone, plus the better braking and the longer casting, to me makes it worth it. Plus I like the color scheme better. It's just so menacing. So in my eyes, it is worth the money. Now this is probably the last test I'm going to do with the Curado I until I get my Curado 200K, which I have on pre-order. And I'm going to do some extensive comparison between the two. Now you're probably wondering what that reel is right there. This reel here, I just got done testing it against some rivals, throwing really lightweight lures to see if this thing can throw light lures as well as people claim. And that video will be coming out soon. But I'm going to be sticking this head to head against the Scorpion to check out the skipping capabilities. Now, I'm not the greatest skipper in the world. I'm really rusty. Let's see if these reels can turn me into a skipping master. And hopefully I can share that with you guys. Okay, thanks. Don't forget to like the video and share it with someone who's a fishing nerd or like me and you. And thanks a lot, guys.